Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order. And if you're available to stand, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. Okay, roll call.
Thank you. President Calvin Peterson.
Here.
Vice President James Forsyth. Trustee Sabrina Rodriguez. Here. Trustee Shannon Fredericks. Here. Trustee Dr. Jerry Dannenberg. Here. And Superintendent Dr. Antonio Castro.
Here.
Thank you.
Is there any need to amend the agenda? I'll entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Dannenberg.
Yes.
Trustee Fredericks.
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Forsyth. Yes. And Trustee Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
I'll turn it over to the superintendent.
Thank you, President Peterson. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight. My name is Antonio Castro. I'm the superintendent of Ventura Unified. Before we get started, I want to thank all the community members for being here. I want to also thank Ventura High School for hosting this event tonight. Thank you. The primary purpose of tonight's town hall is for the board and community to receive a presentation about several district surplus properties. These surplus properties went through that surplus process in 2021, and for the board and district staff to listen to public comments. In a moment, Megan McIver, Vice President of DCG, will present a surplus property alternative use analysis. The board will then join us up on stage to hear public comments, and the board can deliberate on the presentation. No action will be taken this evening. Let me say that again. There is no action to be taken this evening, as we only have conference items on the agenda. Before Ms. McIver begins her presentation, I'd like to review our current surplus property timeline. And Marianne, if you can put that on the screen. I'm not going to go over the entire timeline because some steps, as you'll note, have already led us to today. But the presentation, you need to know this and the other presentation that Ms. McIver will go over are listed online in our agenda center. So you can access these going to our website under our board agendas. So taking a look at the timeline, you'll note that we are in the request for proposal process. December 4th is the deadline for RFP submissions. During January 2026, during that process of the RFP offer reviews, DCG may facilitate interviews with interested parties. Going forward, during February of 2026, the board can take action on the RFPs, with final terms being negotiated shortly thereafter. And then during the following months of March and April, purchase and sales agreements would be finalized, followed by potential board action. And again, I'm not going to go over the more granular details that take place following that, but I'm going to turn this over now to Megan McIver. Thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you, Superintendent Castro. Is everyone able to hear me? No? Okay. Still not, right? Or can you hear me? Okay, just gotta be closer. Okay. Great. We're starting well. Thank you, Superintendent Castro, and good afternoon and good evening, everyone. As the superintendent mentioned, my name is Megan McIver, and I am Vice President with DCG Strategies, and I'm also joined here today by my colleague, Landis Graydon, who's the CEO and founder of our company. I will be presenting the bulk of today's session, and Landis will likely chime in on certain questions and topics as needed. As Superintendent Castro mentioned, today's town hall meeting is focused on 3 district-owned surplus properties and potential alternative use options for each site. We're considering tonight Jewett Estate, the former Avenue Elementary School, and the former Washington Elementary School. So our firm has been working with the district since April 2025, and we have completed various research and analysis on the district's surplus property in order to better understand the potential use options for each site. I want to emphasize that our firm does not make specific recommendations to the board. Our role is to provide the board with reliable data so in turn you can make fully informed decisions surrounding your real estate. Today's presentation will be focused on our analysis and key property findings. Today's presentation is approximately 60 minutes, and we will have time for board questions and answers at the end of my presentation. So of course, this presentation is not about DCG, but I did want to give some context and insight into our firm, DCG Strategies. We've been around since 2005, and we specialize in working with local educational agencies throughout the state of California. We provide full-service real estate services, including consulting, development analysis, and brokerage for districts throughout the state of California. We serve as an outsourced real estate team and work alongside district staff in executing the vision of the board. In addition, we are the exclusive real estate services provider for the California School Board Association, CSBA, and we regularly present workshops and sessions for CSBA members. So with that, as I mentioned, our firm has been working with the district since April of this year, and specifically assisting the district with understanding the highest and best use of your surplus property. Today's presentation will focus on 3 of the district's 5 surplus properties, which consist of 2 former school sites and 1 site which is currently vacant land, each of which are listed here on this slide. So I'll start by providing a general overview of our process, and then share a summary of the market landscape, and then we'll discuss specifics on each property. Before we dive into the individual sites, however, I want to remind everyone of our process and the journey we've been on for the past few months. This slide indicates what we believe to be the best practice process when reviewing and studying school district real estate. So for starters, when analyzing public property, there's really 3 questions any analysis should help to answer. 1 is understanding what is physically possible on a property, then what is legally permissible, and finally, understanding the needs of the surrounding community and what uses the community is likely to support. So you can see we first started with introductory conversations with the district and staff to better understand the history of your surplus property, discuss the overall process and plan to gain a deeper understanding of board objectives and priorities. This sometimes can help identify the lens through which our team approaches the analysis. One thing that was made clear from our initial conversations is that the board is not predisposed to any one particular use for your surplus property. In fact, the board has not made any decisions at all regarding the future use of each property, and really wanted to have a transparent process that illuminated all options for each site. So I'll say one more time again, our role as your consultant is not to provide recommendations, as obviously we have no decision-making power. Our role is to provide you with reliable data so that you, in turn, can make a fully informed decision. So the next part of our process, just moving over on the slide, involved a review of potential constraints on each site to best answer the question of what is physically possible. And when we say what is physically possible, we mean literally what is physically possible on the property based on size, slope, environmental issues, title issues such as easements, which are all constraints that could potentially limit and or prohibit use on a property. And for this step, I want to emphasize that our team did not complete any formal environmental analysis, as we are not environmental experts. As district staff did not note any environmental issues on the sites, the bulk of this portion of our analysis included reviewing district-provided title reports to uncover any easements and restrictions, as well as any publicly available information related to each site. And of course, assessing the physical capacity of a property is extremely important as it provides a lens into what is physically possible. For example, our team recently completed an analysis for another district where the property was just over 16 acres in size, but upon review of the physical constraints of the site, we learned that only 2.5 acres were actually usable or developable. As such, physical capacity is critical to understand, as alternative use options may be different for, of course, a 16-acre site versus a 2.5-acre site. So moving on to the third step, land use analysis. Next, we completed a land use analysis that helped to understand what is legally permissible on each site. The local governing jurisdiction over a property is the entity that decides what uses are legally permissible or allowed per their general plan and zoning ordinance. Our team reviewed the local general plan and zoning related to each site to understand what is legally permissible per the applicable governing jurisdiction. A part of this question is also understanding what uses, while they may not be currently allowed, could potentially be supported and approved on each site in the future. So our goal is always to provide feasible uses that are vetted and are likely to be approved. But of course, there is no guarantee until a project goes through the formal application process. However, we always strive to receive an initial read from the jurisdiction. So stepping back a bit, of course, in real estate and development, nothing is haphazard. And when I say that, I mean that development is methodical and pre-planned through what's called zoning and land use designations. And these are both terms included in the provided glossary of terms handout. So as a brief summary, every local jurisdiction has what's called a general plan and a zoning ordinance. And these are the main tools that govern use of property and essentially what uses can go where. The governing jurisdiction, whether it's a city or county, has the ultimate authority to approve a use based on the rules they've outlined in their general plan and zoning ordinance. The general plan is known as the blueprint, and it's more long-term. It typically provides a 20 to 30-year outlook on development and what types of uses the jurisdiction would like to see and where they want those uses to go. The zoning ordinance, on the other hand, provides more detail on the allowable uses, including building specifications and other items. So for example, if you're driving around in Ventura, you'll notice that there are areas where certain uses are clustered together. Specifically, if you're downtown, you'll note there are commercial uses located together and within close proximity. Then if you keep driving and you enter a residential neighborhood and there's all single-family homes, this is of course not random, but it's because the city designated the land in those areas to be designated for that particular use. So when studying land use and potential alternative uses, it's always important to look at what uses the properties are surrounded by, because that will likely provide a good indication of what potential uses would be allowed on the subject property. So for example, if a subject property is located next to single-family homes, it's highly unlikely that the city would allow a 10-story apartment building or retail or commercial to be built there. So it's important to study contextual influences and development patterns in the area. And if we look at the red arrow, we're currently at step 4 in the process, which is providing an opportunity for a feedback loop. Now that we know what is physically possible and what uses are legally permissible, the next step is to better understand of those uses, which uses may be supported. There are various avenues made available for receiving feedback, and today is one of those avenues. As I'm sure everyone is aware already, a request for proposals and RFP process is currently available for each of the 3 sites we are discussing this afternoon. So the district's goal for this evening is to receive feedback on potential uses for each property. Overall, as the seller, the district's responsibility for each site is, if it so chooses, to accept the proposal that is in the best interest of the district. Once a buyer is selected, however, the responsibility of community engagement shifts from the district to the buyer. And if the buyer proposes to redevelop a property, they will be required to go through a public process as defined by the governing jurisdiction in which the property is located. Once we get to the findings for each property, you will see the slides reference a term called highest and best use. So I wanted to spend a few minutes defining that term for us so we're all on the same page. Highest and best use is actually an appraisal term that is defined as the most probable use that provides an owner with the highest maximum value. So the term applies 4 tests or questions, which you can see on this slide. The first is, what is physically possible on a property? What is legally permissible? What is financially feasible? And then of those uses that are left, which use is maximally productive? So this is what highest and best use means. And I want to clarify this because essentially highest and best use is focused on revenue, but does not necessarily take into account board priorities or community goals. So you'll see we have identified the highest and best use of each site based on the 4 questions. However, this is purely based on maximizing revenue. The best option ultimately would be to find alternative uses that maximize revenue, but also maximize positive social impact for the district and the community. So now that we've level set in terms of understanding best practice and defining key terms, this next slide goes into greater detail on what our team has done over the past few months. And I want to emphasize that our scope did not include any physical due diligence or environmental assessment. So the analysis was based on land use regulation, contextual influences, and development patterns in the surrounding areas. As such, these are initial findings and are preliminary in the absence of a formal due diligence process. As I mentioned, the first 3 steps have already been completed. Specifically, our team reviewed the history of each property, including the preliminary title report, and completed general exploration of each site. Based on initial conversations with district staff, our analysis then included property-specific research based on each site's history. For example, this included the potential for annexation for Jewett Estate, which we'll discuss further in today's presentation, as well as the historic designations for the former Avenue and Washington elementary schools, which will also be discussed. Okay, so now the fun part, a summary of preliminary findings. Overall, our analysis included nearly 23 acres of land, 22.8 to be exact. And as you'll see, the 3 properties are located within 2 different jurisdictions. Even though they each hold a Ventura address, only 2 of the properties are located within Ventura city limits, falling under the jurisdiction of the city of Ventura. The 3rd property is located in an unincorporated area, meaning it falls under the jurisdiction of Ventura County. Different rules and municipal codes apply to each site based on its jurisdiction. As you will see, the properties hold a variety of zoning designations ranging from classifications reserved for agriculture to some form of residential. So if we hone in now on the market landscape of the surrounding area, the city of Ventura is currently going through what's called a general plan update. And as I mentioned earlier, the general plan is really the long-term blueprint for a city, and it embodies the community's vision for the future of its city. So as the city's current general plan was approved in 2005, the city is now in the final stages of approving General Plan 2050, which will establish future development through the year 2050. The public draft of General Plan 2050 includes several changes compared to the current general plan. In particular, the public draft includes changes in land use for the district's surplus properties, which can be seen as a benefit should the district wish to maximize the value of its surplus property. Overall, within the city, open space available for development is sparse, as the city is almost completely developed. So as a result, the city has really focused on infill development to meet its goals and development needs. Infill development is a term that's included on the glossary of term sheet and refers to development on unused and underutilized lands within existing development patterns. Oops. As I'm sure we're all aware, California is in a housing crisis. Due to this and also recent state legislation, local government policymakers and staff are aligned in their goal for the need to increase housing stock throughout the city and county. One of the state's legislations that's at the forefront of everyone's mind is the Regional Housing Needs Allocation, or RHNA is the abbreviation. This is a process that is required by state law and applies to every city, town, and jurisdiction. For Southern California, the Southern California Association of Governments, SCAG, is the entity that conducts the housing element and regional housing needs allocation every 8 years. As part of RHNA, the California Department of Housing and Community Development, or HCD, determines the total number of new homes that 6 Southern California counties, including Ventura, need to allow for, and how affordable those homes need to be in order to meet the housing needs of people at all income levels. SCAG then distributes a share of the region's housing need to each city, town, and county in the region. Each local government must then update the housing element of its general plan to show the locations where housing can be built and establish policies and strategies necessary to meet the community's housing needs. As this process is completed every 8 years, the previous completed cycle was 2012 to 2020, and recognizing the need for more housing for people of all income levels, in March 2020, SCAG accepted HCD's determination of 1,341,000 or so housing units needed in the region between October 2021 and October 2029. So as noted on the slide, the city of Ventura is allocated to allow for the development of 5,312 housing units in the 2021-2029 cycle. And unincorporated Ventura is allocated 1,262 units. RHNA is met based on housing capacity from allowable zoning densities and is a combination of existing capacity and new capacity created via zone changes. Under no circumstances does rezoning require a property owner to build housing. Each local government is required by state law to allow for their allocated units to be built, however, cannot force the property owner to build the housing. Local governments will be considered in compliance with the state mandate by completing the rezoning process via an update to its housing element. Based on the RHNA numbers, as well as informal conversations with planning staff, the city has a need to increase housing stock within city limits. Diving deeper into the individual site characteristics, we will now go through the current zoning and land use designations for each site, as well as the applicable uses. And this slide is simply an overview for reference as we move forward in the presentation. The sites are listed in no particular order and are grouped based on their jurisdiction. So as you can see, Jewett Estate is located in unincorporated Ventura, whereas the remaining 2 sites are within Ventura city limits. This next slide hones in specifically on Jewett Estate, which consists of approximately 10 acres of undeveloped land. The site is currently used as agricultural land via a long-term lease, and the tenant is farming strawberries and seasonal vegetables. While the property is located in unincorporated Ventura, it actually sits right on the border of the city of Ventura. From the snapshot of the property on this slide here, the city limits really follow the development of the land. So to the left or the west of Jewett Estate is city limits, which are indicated by the presence of the residential development you see. And to the right or the east of the parcel is unincorporated Ventura County, as indicated by the undeveloped agricultural land. Here, the city limits or boundary follow the development patterns of the land, with the border of the city running along Ramelli Avenue and then coming down to Ralston Street, abutting Jewett Estate, and then continuing down along Beaver Street to Bristol Road and beyond. Another important note for this property is that it is located within the County of Ventura's Save Open Space and Agricultural Resources Initiative. This is a voter initiative that has been in place for a number of years and requires a county-wide vote before agricultural, rural, or open space land in the unincorporated county can be rezoned for development. As the property is located in an unincorporated area of Ventura, it thus falls under the jurisdiction of the County of Ventura. Per Ventura County Municipal Code, the property is zoned AE 40 acre. And that's a designation that is for agricultural exclusive uses and designated agricultural in the Ventura County General Plan. As noted, the agricultural exclusive zoning district is intended for commercial agricultural land. So as we've discussed, the local jurisdiction is the entity that assigns zoning to each parcel and then determines what uses will be allowed within each zoning district. Per county municipal code and based on the property's current zoning, the AE 40 acre zoning district allows for a variety of uses related to agriculture and agricultural operations. Here is just a sample list of some of the permitted and conditionally permitted uses that would be allowable on the site. And the full list can be found under the county's zoning ordinance. So here are some key site findings. Overall, since the property is currently being used for agricultural land, this is of course one possible use for the site. In addition, as I mentioned, the property is bounded on 2 sides by the city of Ventura and falls under the city's sphere of influence. The sphere of influence represents the geographic extent to which a city can expand by annexation. And annexation is the process of bringing a property into city limits. So one option that may be available to maximize the use of the property could be the potential for annexation into the city of Ventura, which most likely could allow for the realization of the property's highest value. Annexation, however, is ultimately subject to approval from Ventura LAFCO, which stands for Local Agency Formation Commission, which is an independent agency that oversees boundary changes for cities and most special districts in the county. We'll move on now to the former Avenue Elementary School site. So the second site we'll be discussing is, of course, located at 2647 North Ventura Avenue in Ventura. The property consists of one parcel that is 7.44 acres in size. And this property, unlike the previous one, falls under the jurisdiction of the city of Ventura. The property contains various site improvements, including a vacant school building that was once home to Avenue Elementary School, which has been closed for some time now. From conversations with district staff, the buildings themselves are in significant need of rehabilitation and have significant deferred maintenance. For example, the cafeteria roof is structurally compromised, and comprehensive upgrades to roofing, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems are required across the campus. Staff also noted the site contains lead and asbestos. The parcel is located on the northwestern edge of the city of Ventura and is bounded by unincorporated land to the north and portions to the west. Within city limits, it is bordered by residential uses to the east and a mix of industrial uses to the south. And from our site visit, the topography would be considered relatively level, and it's street grade. The property is located in Ventura and falls under the jurisdiction of the city of Ventura, as mentioned. So per Ventura Municipal Code, the property is currently zoned R-1-1 acre for single-family residential and designated public institutional in the current city general plan. The single-family zoning designation is quite common for school properties because sometimes, of course, schools are located in residential areas and neighborhoods. During our informal meeting with City Planning, it was noted the draft Public General Plan 2050 proposes to update the site's land use designation from public institutional to mixed use 3. While public institutional designation covers a range of public and institutional uses like parks, schools, and public buildings, the proposed mixed-use designation allows for multi-story, multi-use infill development throughout the city, but predominantly in retail and commercial corridors and districts. Overall, it's intended to allow for a diverse mix of residential and/or commercial uses, whether a mix of both or residential-only buildings. The mixed-use 3 designation specifically allows for residential development of up to 30 units per acre and a maximum height of 3 stories or 45 feet, whichever is lower. So going back to the property's current zoning, it is currently zoned R-1-1AC under single-family residential zoning, which allows for 1 residential unit per acre of land. The proposed mixed-use 3 designation allows for a much higher density of 30 residential units per acre. And because of this, any future development is likely to conform to the new designation as opposed to the current zoning. Typically, in cases such as this, where the zoning is stricter than the designation, the governing jurisdiction will update the zoning to align with the designation. However, this is not always the case. In either regard, the uses listed here reflect the permitted and conditionally permitted uses under the R-1-1AC zoning. So again, while the property is currently already zoned to allow for residential development, given the city's proposed new designation for the property, this really allows the district to realize the property's maximum value, particularly allowing for an increase from 1 dwelling unit per acre to 30 dwelling units per acre. Additionally, as noted, the new designation also allows for retail, office, and commercial. However, in general, residential development typically holds the highest and best use. Finally, when reviewing publicly available information regarding this property, we did note the property, specifically the former Avenue School building, is eligible for the National Register of Historic Places. Our third and final site is located at 96 McMillan Avenue and is the former Washington Elementary School. So this site is composed of one parcel that is 5.35 acres in size, and similar to the prior site, this property is located within the city of Ventura city limits, so it falls under the jurisdiction of the city. This site is located within the Midtown area of Ventura and benefits from its proximity to downtown Ventura. To the north of the site is East Main Street, a main corridor in the city, and as such, the property is bordered to the north by mixed-use buildings with higher densities than in the neighborhood interiors, along with a range of amenities in transit-oriented use patterns, intensities, and urban character. From our site visit, site topography appears relatively level and at street grade. The property contains building improvements consisting of the former Washington Elementary School, which closed in 1982. From conversations with district staff, the property contains about 38,000 square feet of building improvements. The property was most recently leased to a school, which operated there until 2023. Per Ventura Municipal Code, the property is currently zoned to allow for residential development, specifically R-3-5, which allows for multifamily residential. The R-3-5 zoning includes a variety of residential uses that typically align with medium-density housing types. While the property currently holds a land use designation of parks and open space, city planning staff noted that, similar to Avenue Elementary School, this property is also included in the draft General Plan 2050 with a proposed designation of school. This is likely to align with the site's current use as a school. And so within the R-3-5 zoning district, a variety of residential and residential supporting uses are permitted and conditionally permitted, as noted on this slide here, including large multifamily and residential condominiums, as well as public parks and playgrounds. Overall, for this site, the current zoning allows for a variety of uses that align with the residential zoning district. As the property is included in the draft general plan update, any future use away from schools will likely require a general plan amendment to update the land use designation to align with the current zoning. And finally, the former school building is listed on the National Register of Historic Places. So in closing, and I'm much faster than my hour, so if we are looking for the highest and best use of each property, as I defined earlier, the highest and best use of each of the three properties is for the development of residential housing. Each site contains its own specifications related to its ability to achieve maximum value. However, for each, there is a plausible pathway. Ultimately, however, each site also has the ability to be used in its current as-is condition. And at this stage, I've reached the end of my presentation and would now like to turn it over to the board for questions.
So at this time, we'd like to invite the board up to the stage. For those not familiar with our board format, for all items, we have a staff presentation, the opportunity for board members to ask questions, and then we move on to public comments, followed by potential board deliberation. So that's our format.
Okay, so that we can make a decision on our time, if you intend to make a public comment, could you please raise your hand to get a count? Okay, there'll be 2 minutes per public comment. And at this time, we're going to take a restroom break for the people that need to use the restroom, and then we'll commence with the meeting. We'll do a quick 5-minute break. Okay, at this time, does the board members have any questions for the presenter before we start public comment? All right, we're going to bring this meeting to order. The restroom break is over, and we do have questions by the board.
Okay, got it. I just had a question. I think it's probably more for district staff, but it was presented that there would not be an environmental study done by DCG. I was wondering if the district has done an environmental study, or at what point in this process will there be an environmental study?
Trustee Fredericks can confirm that currently the staff has not done any kind of environmental study, and I'll turn it over to DCG to share when in the process that might happen.
Usually, an environmental study is commissioned with a specific contemplated use. So they also need to be, they're time-driven as well, so you want them to be fresh. So once a use is proposed, then there will be part of diligence is an environmental review.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. Question for you. In your opinion, if we do something other than highest best use, is there a way still to maximize revenue to the district? Or if we do something other than just straight residential, are we probably going to lose dollars in the process?
So to clarify the process, once the district releases, well, the sites are released, and you're going to be limited to the responses that you receive. There could always be alternative uses or competitive uses, if you will. And at that point, the district's able to evaluate based on the use, based on the potential revenue, and other factors for if the district decides to move forward with a particular proposal. So in our experience, even with sites that are highest and best use residential, we often see an array of different proposed uses. So you're not limited, but you are, the only limitation is what you receive from the respondents.
Thank you. That kind of aligned with my question, which was, one, if you could kind of explain again a little bit of the interplay between current land use designations, current zonings, and potential land use designations within the general plan for 2050, and kind of how that provides opportunities for public feedback. And then sort of the follow-up question to that is, there's nothing to prohibit someone from providing a proposal to the district that does not comply with its current zoning or current land use designation, but it would be on them to then, move that project forward. Is that correct?
And Landis, before you answer, if you could just introduce yourself since you're joining us after the start. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Landis Graydon. I'm a member of DCG Strategies team. Land use is a function of planning, as Megan mentioned in her proposal. So the local jurisdiction, whether it be the county or the city, they have already contemplated future uses. And so even if the current zoning is residential, for instance, they may decide we want to shift into a different type of land use. That's typically a function of the general plan. So cities that decide we want an innovation hub, they may say we're going to now designate this area for this particular innovation hub type of use, and the existing uses would be grandfathered. So what we have is a lot of times that conversation will start with the planning staff. And the conversation is, what has the city contemplated, or what will the city contemplate going forward into the future for uses? Is the current use something that's going to carry forward, or does the city anticipate shifting the use based on its long-range planning? And as a bidder, depending on what that use is, you either have a use that is compatible with the existing use, or you have a use that may not be current law. However, the city is very supportive because that's a direction that the city wants to move into. So as part of just the planning function of a city, they're constantly looking at how do we serve the community, both private and business, from a land use perspective.
One other question, Landis. I was curious, could you just talk a little bit about how the historic preservation designation would potentially impact the types of projects that could be proposed?
With the historic designations, any bidder likely will bring in a historic preservation consultant to determine if any particular proposed use will either fit within the historic designation, or in cases where the historic designation is limiting, can the historic designation be technically ignored? And you may go into an historic place like Monterey and they have plaques, what used to be here, because that still is a historic place. They've chosen to memorialize it with a plaque. Other times, they'll say you must maintain the facade. Other times, they'll just say we don't have to do anything, or you can't touch any aspect, you must keep the structure intact. So there will be an independent historic review process, most likely conducted by whoever, either proposed bidders, if they feel very confident in their proposal, or if you select a use, they should, they should conduct their own historical review process. And the district at that point is just an invested stakeholder.
Okay. So I appreciate the presentation. Thank you so much. I have some questions, but after I saw all the hands go up, I think we got to get to the public first. So I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a civility statement that we're going to read, but before we do that, if you're going to make a public comment and your last name starts with A, B, and C, please come up to the microphones. And I don't know if most of you can write the alphabet down without singing the song, but I just figured out I cannot.
Good evening. Each speaker tonight will receive 2 minutes for their public comment. This evening, as we stated, we are doing things a little differently. We will be calling your last name out by letter, so please come up when that time is. To save time, we would like you to make your public comment, and then we are going to alternate between the two microphones. If you would like the board to know who you are, please begin your comment by stating your name. Before we begin, we would like to remind everyone that the governing board recognizes the impact that civility has in the effective operation of the district, including its role in creating a safe and positive school climate and enabling a focus on student well-being, learning, and achievement. The board believes that everyone should be treated with dignity and respect in their interactions within the school community. The board understands that the First Amendment provides strong protection for speech. However, the board expects that all speech, expression, and action will follow the norms of civil behavior during district meetings. Please remember, we have students who will be watching this and may be in attendance this evening, so please keep language as respectful as possible. We'll take our first speaker on my left. So Vicki, do you have your first? Nope, so we're going to the right. Thank you.
That better? Yes. Okay. Good evening, my name is Jenna. I am a mother of 2 students and one being part of our neurodiverse community. I stand before you with a vision not just for a trade school at the Ventura Avenue School, but for a future where every individual, regardless of how their brain is wired, has the opportunity to thrive, contribute, and live with purpose. We are here to talk about creating a trade school for a neurodiverse community. And let me be clear, this is not an act of charity. This is an act of recognizing potential untapped, undersupported, and long overdue. Neurodiversity includes autism, ADHD, dyslexia, and other cognitive differences. These aren't deficits, they are variations in the way people think, learn, solve problems, and interact with the world. But much too often, the traditional education system is not built to recognize the differences. It rewards conformity and creativity, standardization over innovation. This leads far too many neurodiverse individuals falling through the cracks, brilliant minds labeled as difficult, disruptive, or not a good fit. But the truth is, it is not the people who don't fit, it is the system that fails to accommodate. A trade school tailored to neurodiverse learners can change that. Imagine a school where students can explore hands-on careers in fields like technology, graphic design, auto mechanics, culinary arts, and coding industries, where many neurodiverse individuals naturally excel when given the right environment. Imagine a place where communication styles are honored and not suppressed, where sensory-friendly classrooms, flexible instruction, and skilled mentors help each student grow with their terms. This school wouldn't teach just trades, it would build confidence, it would open doors to stable, fulfilling jobs. It would say to every neurodiverse student, you belong, you are capable, and your future matters. We already know that the unemployment rate for neurodiverse individuals is far too high, often simply because they weren't given the chance. But the impact doesn't stop with students. When we empower neurodiverse individuals, we uplift families, we strengthen communities, and we enrich the workforce with diverse talent and perspective.
Thank you. Time's up.
Thank you.
Next up.
Ready? Push play.
My name is Gavin White. I am an 8th grade student at Trident Academy. I am here tonight to tell you that I have big dreams for my life and goals like any other child in our community. I want to have more options and opportunities when I am done with high school. Anyone else that finishes high school and also has dreams, they have options on what they can do next. They can go to college, go straight to work, or even go to trade school for any other opportunities, and I too want that option. Individuals with different abilities like me are limited to very few options, and most of those options are just learning life skills and how to be a functioning adult and member of society. I want to be a part of our society like any other individual you know, and I want to have the opportunity to be a computer technician or work on cars, or even become the next big thing for this world. I am asking that you allow the Ventura Avenue School to be that opportunity for me and my friends, and all other individuals like us. We deserve as much as anyone else in this world, and you can help us get there. My mom and dad should not have to live a life knowing there is nothing much for me after high school, because most schools don't have the support I need. Davina and Ryan and their vision for this trade school are my future. They are two incredible people that, given the resources, can make something so incredible happen in our community. You too can be a part of the vision and the change that me and my fellow friends need. I thank you for being here this evening and listening to why this trade school must happen for more than just me. Be the change this world so desperately needs.
Bye.
I absolutely love that idea. It's going to be hard to go after that. But my name is Melissa Bates-Wilder, and I'm the owner of the Little Blue Crush. We are a co-work nursery school starting in downtown, and I'm also the visionary behind the Blue School. We are similar to the Green School of Bali, that we want to rewild childhood to save the planet. We've been working with the California Charter School Association since 2024 to come up with an innovative school for the children of Ventura and hopefully the children of the world. We are 12 alumni from Harvard, Yale, UCLA, SCAD, William & Mary, Oxford, and Berkeley. We are green builders, architects, educators, writers, scientists, artists, lawyers, and business owners. And our idea is to solve 4 societal problems. First, 1 in 3 children are diagnosed with mental health disorders, and while there are a variety of contributing factors, the lack of free play and lack of time outside are huge. Therefore, children at our school spend 30 to 50% of their day outside in forest play or in beach play. Secondly, parents in America are struggling to find after-school care. Therefore, our school will be 9 to 5. When parents work, homework will be done at school and free play will happen at school. So when kids get home, they get to spend time with their families. Third, school campuses hog energy and water. However, our school is making a commitment to be carbon negative. We are going to sequester carbon through making a microforest, and will generate more power than we need. We are going to capture our own water and grow food and teach children about the farm-to-table movement. Our idea is to have sustainable systems so that children learn that schools can give back to community and to the planet rather than take. And fourthly, we plan to have teacher housing on our campus. That could be for our teachers and the teachers of Ventura Unified. The reason for that is that we all know that housing is expensive.
Time is up.
Thanks for considering our idea.
Next.
Good evening. My name is Claudia Arman, and my son graduated from this high school 2 years ago. And so as a mom of a student that went through the school district, I recognize that your role as school board members are to make decisions in the best interests of the education of the district students. And that has to guide your decision making. Yet our affordable housing crisis is linked to some of the challenges that the school district faces. Lack of housing leads to declining enrollment, and it makes recruiting and retaining top quality staff more difficult. It's appropriate and worthwhile for you to consider the value of these sites to deliver affordable housing for district employees and even district families. When a market rate developer in this town builds homes, the city's inclusionary housing requires them to provide 15% of the units at affordable rates. But that produces an insignificant number of housing that's affordable. When a public entity like a school district owns land, you have the opportunity to build housing that's 100% affordable. And that's a different scale of impact than what market rate developers can deliver. So I encourage you to pursue options that can deliver the most number of affordable homes. I've been a homeowner on McMillan Avenue for 20 years and live 2 blocks from Washington School. I am so enthusiastic about the prospect of building multifamily, multi-story housing in the field behind the school. I think my neighborhood is perfect for that type of housing, and I think the Housing Authority would be a great partner. I've seen their properties over the years. They're the highest quality, and I have a lot of confidence in their leadership. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. I am here in strong support for the Avenue Trade School for Autism. My name is Michelle Berrigan. I'm a local contractor and community member. I'm here to express my strong support for transforming this historic site into a hands-on training center for autistic adults. We have something truly special in front of us, a vacant historic site currently serving no purpose, ready to be restored and put to meaningful use. A mission that meets a growing community need, and a team with proven experience serving the autism community, ready to expand their impact. When students with autism finish high school, the support they've relied on often fades away, and families call this the cliff. Many young adults are left without structure, direction, or meaningful opportunities. This is heartbreaking and unnecessary. Without structure and community, many also struggle with their mental health. Autistic adults are about 4 times more likely to experience depression than the general population, often because of isolation and lack of opportunities. This project helps change that trajectory. The vision is simple. Turn the site onto a hands-on training center that provides practical skill-based learning and connects participants directly to employers, internships, paid work. It's and it's about structure, opportunity, and independence. The need is growing fast, according to the CDC. 1 in 50 children were affected in year 2000. By 2022, it was 1 in 31. Right now, less than 8% of adults with autism receive state services, have regular jobs in the community, meaning that's over 90%. So this is something that needs some immediate attention and help, and this is a space where this can be accomplished.
Michelle, I'm sorry, I didn't catch your last name.
Thank you. Your time is up.
Last name is Berrigan. Yeah.
I'm asking everyone with the last name DEF to please make their way forward.
Hello, my name is Laura Cornish with a C, and I feel kind of selfish coming up and talking about my house, which backs up to Washington School, but I did come to give input, and so since you asked for it, I have a gazebo that sits right at the fence next to the school, and we're used to having the kids play and listen to that, and it was really beautiful. What I'm envisioning is some tall building looking down in my backyard, or cars driving in and out, you know, right there. And so that upsets me. I have nothing against affordable housing. I have nothing against the school, the area being used for that, but I do already with the ADUs, already there's so much parking problems on our streets now. I'm worried about the parking getting worse because people have 2 cars and there's never enough parking for visitors and the 2 cars in a place like that. Plus our streets are very narrow coming in, so it's just gonna be hard to get in and out and stuff like that. So those are my concerns: privacy, noise, not to mention the gopher problem that we have going on since the school's been abandoned. So anyway, that's my 2 cents. I would just love to have, you know, more input in terms of like some privacy barriers in terms of foliage, and some, maybe if you're gonna put some places for kids to play, put it along San Nicolas, that would be great. And then I'm happy. So thank you very much.
Hello, I'm Jim Brace Thompson with the Ventura Gem and Mineral Society, and the comments I'd have would be directed more to the Washington School site. And to give you a little background, we are a 501c nonprofit educational organization devoted to earth sciences and the arts, specifically lapidary, jewelry making, that sort of thing. And we were founded actually 80 years ago by a group of Ventura High School students. And we've continued their legacy for 80 years now. We do a lot of educational outreach programs, both going to schools, going to science nights, science fairs, having classes. We've hosted preschools, groups. We have a little one-room museum at present. And my hope would be that the Washington School could somehow be, or parts of it could be used for similar science and arts-based organizations to have sort of a home base to operate out of as we try and serve the community. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karen Flock, and I'm a resident of Ventura, and I always vote for school bonds. I'm here representing Homes for All, which is a local organization in Ventura supporting affordable housing, and also a member of the Ventura County Housing Coalition, a county-based organization, and our emphasis is this year on government properties that can be used for affordable housing. So all 3 of these sites have great potential to be a real asset to the community, in the case of Washington and the Avenue School, to improve and enhance the existing buildings for different kinds of uses that would complement the community, and add on all 3 sites affordable housing for families and for school district employees. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Cherie Egbert, and I live in Midtown Ventura. I'm a community leader, a child advocate, addiction prevention advocate, and healthy community advocate. With a background in environmental design, I understand how the built environment shapes health, healing, and connection. And I care deeply about how shared spaces, especially parks and fields for play, support the well-being of children and families. And I want to see Ventura thrive in a healthy and balanced way. As you consider the future of Washington School, I'd like to remind us all of the Naylor Act, part of the California Education Code, sections 17485 through 17500. It was written for moments like this. It recognizes that when a school property has been historically used for recreation is sold, the public still has a right to open space. It encourages partnerships with cities or park districts to preserve playgrounds and fields for community use. And it goes further. If those fields are lost, alternatively, recreation space should be made available elsewhere, nearby. Midtown has the least park space per person in Ventura. And for years, Cabrillo Middle School has served as the de facto community park, but now it's slated to be fenced off. And if Washington School is developed for housing, and I do appreciate the Housing Authority's proposal includes a housing park, but we still lose essential fields for play. Ventura is not a planned city like Thousand Oaks or Moore Park, which has more parks, and large parks sit beside the schools. We're older and we rely on shared spaces and schoolyards after hours where kids can play safely and families can gather. Education isn't only what happens inside the classroom. Play is education, play is child's work. It's how we grow. And now more than ever, in a world dominated by screens and social media, we need real spaces where families can connect, not through a screen. So I urge the district and city to think holistically and ensure families have green spaces forevermore.
Can I please have last name G-H-I? Last name G-H-I. Make your way up.
Hello, my name's Pete Freeman, Westside resident of Ventura. I would like to endorse the concept of a trade school at the Avenue School site. As you're aware, as I'm sure you're aware, college isn't for everyone, and some may be more inclined to a trade. The Avenue School would be a great location for such a school, being located near industries and businesses where some of those new trade skills could be employed. Also, the location is on 2 bus routes that would provide students the ability to attend the school without the need of a car. This would also fit a National Historic of Registered Places designation by preserving the school itself. So I ask that you please consider all the benefits that would be tied to a trade school at the Avenue site. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Tricia Fortina. I'm over at 2935 Hearst Ave, an apartment complex sitting next to the Washington School. I had 5 wonderful years listening to the children play on the playgrounds. It was amazing. I've been scratching my head for 2 years now as to why the Ventura County Christian School got released, or however you want to say that. I don't understand why they're not in there. I thought they were paying all their bills on time. But what I want to speak up to is the Hearst Avenue side is a very narrow street. You can get 1 car through there. There's only room for 1 side of parking. And my vote is that we go ahead and get a park in there, huh? Why don't we get a park in there? And, you know, I understand that the building has been, it's a historical landmark. I think it's been there for 100 years. So if the building is still standing there and then you've got this big, huge playground area, should we put a park in there? Or if you do put some kind of a housing situation, is it going to really be affordable? Because I'm seeing that there's just volumes of huge structures sitting half empty, very unaffordable, and I'm curious about all that. Doesn't make sense. Thank you.
If you would like to say your location so that we know where you live, just use your street name. Please do not give your whole address.
We have comment now on either side, so we're going to alternate. Rose, that means we'll probably have to turn on and off.
Evening, my name is C.L. Higgins. I live at 1183 New Bedford Court. The Avenue School is an opportunity to invigorate the social and economic vitality of Ventura's west side. This is very hard to read in this light, excuse me. Speaking from personal experience, discourse with business owners, and online research, it is clear that there is an extreme shortage in vocational expertise and competence. The methods of manufacturing composites is something that young adults have taken to, there's proven that the methods used in composite construction is very appealing to kids because it's has much modern I'm sorry, I'm terrible at doing this. I always have been. My suggestion for the Avenue School is a trade school which teaches vocations through composite boat building. And why boat building is because boats contain all aspects of trades, so all trades can be taught through the vehicle of boats. And the composite aspect of these boats would meet needs that are sorely short in industry in all genres of industry. Thank you.
I'm sorry, I missed your name. Is it Mr. Higgins? The last speaker? Could you repeat your name?
Mr. Hunt, do you mind trying to bring up the lights a bit in the audience so people can read their notes? We'd appreciate it. And Rose, on your side next.
You can hear me. Dear members of the board, my name is Luis Hernandez. I'm a strong supporter of developing workforce and educator housing on the 3 proposed sites. I think it's important to recall the 2024 housing survey, which clearly shows the depth of the challenge that our staff at the district face, right? Nearly 56% of staff reported financial strain, with 49% saying that they cannot afford to live in Ventura. 69% of employees expressed interest in school district-owned workforce housing, and 75% believe that affordable housing would increase the district's ability to recruit and retain staff. So these numbers reflect what we see every day, that teachers, staff, and essential workers are being priced out of our very community that they serve. So repurposing these surplus sites for high quality, well-designed, well-managed workforce housing is a forward-thinking solution that aligns with the district's mission to invest in its people and strengthen our schools. Thank you.
I think they put the light on up here. I don't think they did anything for the speakers.
That's what I was just about to say. Mr. Hunt, can you please bring up the lights in the audience? You're working with the stage lights. As they work on that, I'll ask J, K, and L to please come up to the microphones.
Good evening, board. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. The Washington School, I have lived in that area for the last 40 years. And when I first moved in, I remember that a lot of the schools in the area were being used by the public. Now they're locked down, you can't use them. I saw soccer matches being held. I saw a lot of other activities at the schools at the open areas of the school lots. Now you cannot do that. And with Washington School now, with that being taken out of a school district, you're taking away all the areas for the residents to actually use for park space in the schools. So consequently, Cabrillo and Lincoln both are close, but now they're unavailable for use of the public. because of the rules, the laws, and everything else. So Washington School, to me, needs to be left open as an open space for the public as a park, because the streets are very narrow. I drive those streets quite frequently, and you have to pull out of the way if you have two cars, and there's a car parked there. One car has to back up. That's how tight it is on the Hearst side. And the actual elevation is higher than the actual roadway there. It's up to 5 to 6 feet higher on that side. And in regards to the Avenue School, I believe that should be used as a trade school and also saved. And also on the historic buildings, I would certainly hope that they're not torn down or put a plaque there, because that's a spot where the citizens and the school can actually use to show students what the old schools were like. You've got quality buildings here, but it would be really nice to see that school and actually use it as a field trip position also. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Jeff Lambert. I'm the CEO of Ventura Housing and happy to be here. I want to thank the board for having this transparent process. I really support that. It's definitely the way we do our work at the Housing Authority. I also want to thank that you have highlighted the importance of housing in your previous RFPs. I think it's important that you acknowledge housing is an important and a crisis in our community. I want to say first that we submitted on the Jewett site. I know you rejected that at your last meeting, but we certainly intend to partner again to submit on that site. We think that's an important site for housing to match the adjacent community, but also to expand the supply of housing. I live on Santa Barbara Street, so I'm particularly interested in the Washington School. I walk by it with my 3 dachshunds twice a day, and I'm not thrilled to see it all boarded up and want to see it back to real use. I want to say when we've looked at that site, we've had some community meetings. We have a concept plan, but our priorities for that site are, number 1, preserving and reusing that school. That's a beautiful building. It's 100 years old, slightly older than my house, and certainly something that we want to see reused. We also see the value of adding affordable housing to that site. We've committed to housing that's no more than 2 and 3 stories, 2 adjacent to the back of the homes on San Nicolas, and 3 perhaps as you get further up towards Main Street. We've also prioritized having public space. We've prioritized engaging the community in the process, as we've already done back in May and will continue to do in the fall. We've also made sure that we have park space on the Hearst side. We wouldn't touch the front of the building because that's the most valuable part, including the grass space in front. So we will continue to work with our community and some neighbors that I saw tonight. I haven't met yet. We'll be happy to do that. I also want to say we're very interested in the Avenue School. We don't have a particular use for the building. I would love to partner with somebody that we could build housing on the school site, but also see that building reused for whether it's a trade school or any other use. It's a beautiful building. We've had the chance to tour. Thank you very much.
At this time, before our next public comment, we'd like M, N, and O to come up, as well as any students who might be in attendance that would like to give a public comment.
Hello, I'm Matt Kleinfelter. I'm a board member for the St. Augustine Academy, 130 Wells Road, next to the Clinicos. We are looking for a new school for our students, and the Washington School would be one that we'd be very interested in. We run a classical school, so the building we would take great pleasure in restoring. We would want to work with our community partners and our neighborhood to make the space available and useful, art classrooms, things of that sort, so to kind of continue the work of Ventura Unified, but use it as a school. The physical plant would be maintained as it is, and we would enhance it in terms of restoration. And we have benefactors that would be willing to support us in moving to that school. So it would be a win-win for the community. It would be a win for the community, and then they would still have access to the school and the property, and then it would be a win for us because we'd have a bigger space. We have about 180 students and from K-12, And it's a great little school that we just have a really small site right now, so that's why we're looking for a larger school. I'm a retired principal. I used to work with Dr. Castro up in Conejo, and I was also on the Rio School Board, and we accessed the old El Rio School, so we went through the same process that you guys are going through now. So it always kind of ends up going to the highest bidder. I mean, it's just the nature of the beast, right? Because you have to pay your bills, especially with declining enrollment. But I think we could make an offer and provide something that would be a win for our neighborhood there by the Washington School, as well as a win for Ventura Unified. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir. Could you say again the name of your school?
Hello, my name is Robin Jacobs, and I am a teacher at Ventura Unified School District. I have been since the I don't want to say the year, but in the 90s. And at that time, my husband and I were able to purchase our home on Crispin Avenue, which is about 2.5 blocks from the Washington School site. We have 2 daughters, one who is planning on getting a teaching credential, and I think about how hard it is going to be for her if she were to be a teacher for Ventura Unified to ever be able to purchase a home in our neighborhood. So the idea of having housing for our young teachers who are coming into the field seems really important to me. And also as a neighbor to the spot, I would love to see the idea of having the community space with that theater be repurposed to something that we could access as community members. I've heard from the Housing Authority the idea of there will be public spaces there. And then I also hope that they will address the concerns that people have regarding parking and driving on our streets, because those are concerns. But I think in the plan, hopefully that will be addressed. And I just want to express my support for the Housing Authority working with that property. Thank you.
Hi, I'm here for Washington School. I'm one of the people that fought to have it as a historical site, so the idea of it being torn down is not what we fought for, and it would be devastating. I went to school there from kindergarten on. It's a beautiful school. I would like to first, after listening to Matt, that would be my first choice, is to have it back as a school. K through 12 sounds wonderful, with the community being able to use it. But if not, other things, I'd like to see a community center. It would support a lot of the activities that people have talked about, the sports, the sciences, the theater, a wide variety. The sky's the limit. So a community center, we've talked about how there's more and more seniors coming in. Senior center to go along with that at that center would be wonderful. Low income, I also lived in San Nicolas, and I have seen low income, which brings in a lot of hardship and vandalism and drugs, so I'm not for that. I also live on the Avenue, so for Avenue School, many, many years ago, I've been with teaching for 39 years now, and we were promised a trade school at one time, and it was turned into the tech school instead. So I would definitely support a trade school down on Ventura Avenue. That's kind of what I have. I hope that you take these into consideration, and I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Bobby Meyer. I've never spoken like this in this kind of a forum, but here we go. So I didn't write anything down, but I am here, number one, to say I support Davina's project down at the Avenue with the trade school. I didn't do all those stats, but hearing that there's over 90% unemployment and knowing that a lot of people just phase out after schools, we need something like that in our town, especially over on that side of town where we seem to want to develop and develop and develop. Well, this is a good local project we should develop in. And then when it comes to the Washington School project, I live on Santa Rosa. Our street's better than all the streets down there when it comes to traffic. The traffic's ridiculous on our street. Embark is a good situation for, they clean up the streets and all that good stuff over there. But the reality is there's a lot more traffic in that area and younger people driving fast. I have a 3-year-old son. So just putting more housing in that area, I don't think is a good idea at all. I think it should be a park, absolutely, especially since they fought for the historical. I think we should really leave it how it is and make it some kind of a park. And then when it comes to affordable housing for teachers, why don't we just pay our teachers more money?
At this time, I'd like those with the last name PQR to start making their way up.
Hi, I'm going to speak for one of the first times, but this is for my nephew who is neurodivergent and 4, who lives in the area of Washington School. I don't know if any of you guys have been up in the area, but trying to take a child who's 4 to a school is not able to in the evenings now. Arroyo Verde is a great school or park to go to, but it is kind of far. And then the downtown Mission Park is not what I would say safe to bring him to. But Kellogg Park is completely busy all the time. I strongly support the trade school on the Avenue. I strongly support a community center at Washington, as well as opening that area to the families of this town where their children can go. We have teens that are all over the town that have no place to go. Community center for teens would be great. We don't have one here in town. As a former teacher, as a former person who have worked with children and have run teen programs, we have nothing for them. What are we doing for them? That would be a great place for them to congregate and be around and be seen, which is what they want. Again, this is for my nephew and the children in this area. $1 is $1, but what we're raising is our future, and our future is dying. Our children have no place to go. We can grow and build more houses, but then they're in a square box staring at a screen. Let's open the spaces for them. Let's give them a spot that they can play, grow, ground, enjoy their family outside the way children and adults should be on their time off. Thank you.
Can we still see the timer? Can you still see the timer down there?
Mr. Hunt, can you please reduce the light? I know you did it so that people could see their notes. We are doing the best that we can. There we go. Thank you.
Good evening, board members. My name is Lucia Marquez. I live on Alameda Avenue. I am the policy director with CAUSE, where CAUSE is also a member of the Ventura County Housing Coalition. I'm here to urge you to consider using your surplus land to build affordable housing for teachers, classified staff, and Ventura families. We really can't separate the housing crisis from the school budget crisis. They are one and the same. When teachers and school employees can't afford to live here, they leave. When families are priced out of Ventura, students leave with them. And every empty desk means less state funding and more budget cuts. This cycle of rising housing costs is leading to the declining enrollment, then layoffs of essential staff. And unless we address the root cause of this problem, it won't end. And that is the lack of affordable homes for people who make our schools and communities strong. The district has a rare opportunity to change that, especially with the Washington School site. By partnering with affordable housing developers, you can transform surplus lands into safe, stable, affordable homes that could help retain teachers and keep families rooted here. If people who educate and care for our students can't afford to stay here, then our entire education system is at risk. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Good evening, staff. Hello, board. My name is Spencer Norn. I'm the former PTO president of Cabrillo Middle School, also the former chair of the Parks and Rec Commission, to give you a few of my titles and my advocacy for the Ventura Unified School District and the future of that, and how we can do what I think is best and solve the majority of all situations that have come up in this process, going back to the 7-11 committee, which is over 5 years ago, about how we need land, right? A one-time interest cannot take care of a multiple of payment, right? We've passed a bond of $600 million, entrusted this unified school district to carry us to the future. Now we're looking as a society to look at our greatest needs, right? A trade school, I'm in full support on the west side. Continuing to maintain agricultural has been our community's #1 advocacy in the general plan process for agriculture on the east side. I love to give those nodes to those 2 properties, but most importantly for me, it's Washington School and the open space that we need to provide our community with continued park space and adaptable reuse on that awesome building. The gentleman here having a school and possibility, that sounds amazing. The blue school, maybe they could use it for the future. There's a lot of ways that we could use a multiple of partnership along with serving part of the housing and the housing authority. The piece of property, the Kinko's property, is not being mentioned in this property at all. That is where the majority of our housing could go, off the avenue on that Stanley property, providing the most open space and quality of life for the future residents in the workforce area, okay? We can partner with the city. The general plan that we're talking about, which Board Member Rodriguez is part of, has no park designations for the next 25 years. That's astonishing to me. We can make Washington Toulouse Park. We can sell it to the city in a new future sales tax and partner with future schools. This would be a benefit for you, also getting the most money as possible in the district's hands. Thank you.
I'm going to ask those with the last name STU to come forward.
All set? Phil Foster, Ranger. I'm proposing positively for the vocational autistic adult ed for the Avenue School, which my great-grandfather owned that 7.5 acres and actually built the first Avenue School in the 1880s, and in the 20s the current Avenue School was built. But about 2 years ago, Davina DeCant contacted myself. We met with her, my sister and I, and she began to explain her vision for this property, which was they had curriculum for highly functioning autistic adults to teach them careers where they could go out and earn a living and not have to rely on subsistence from some form of government. So not only will they renovate the school and make it a wonderful a wonderful addition for Ventura Avenue, but also in her plans are a West Side dog park, a West Side community pool. Also, she would love to rebuild the E.P. Foster House, which was very nice because about 9 years ago, unfortunately, that burned to the ground. The house really wasn't kind of taken care of as well as it should, and it ended up burned. The gangs got in there, the drug, the needles, the fires on the floors, the decimated, beautiful interior was destroyed, but I'm all for what Davina and her husband have planned for that property, and we hope that everyone else sees the value in that, socially, physically, mentally, economically for the West Side. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tasha. I live just down the street, literally. And I'm speaking not only as an educator, but as a mother of a child with autism. I believe that the space of Washington School can serve an even greater purpose of becoming a school for children with special needs. Imagine a place where every child, regardless of their ability, feels seen, supported, and capable. A place designed with sensory-friendly classrooms, quiet zones, therapy rooms, and outdoor learning spaces that encourage growth and independence. This building can become a beacon of hope, not just for the children, but for their families and our entire community. Right now, too many families have to travel far to find programs that meet their children's needs. Some can't find a place at all. We have the chance to change that. Instead of building walls, we can build futures. Let's choose compassion over convenience. Let's create a school that celebrates every child's potential and gives them tools to thrive. Turning this building into a needs school isn't just the right choice. It's the kind choice, the smart choice, and a lasting choice for our community. Thank you.
My name is is Kathy, and I've lived within just over a block of the Washington School for most of my life. Can you now? And so it's important to me. I mean, I walk my dogs there, I live around there, I totally understand the traffic issue, but we all seem to work around it. What I do miss is it being open and being used. It just feels sad. It's a sad building. I was thrilled to hear that it made some historical monument list or is about to. And I'd just like to say that what Ventura doesn't have is a cultural arts center or a community center. In 1966, they tried to build one and fund one, and here we are decades later, and we still don't have an arts center for community arts. Oxnard has one, Thousand Oaks has one, Ventura's absent. I also am on the board of CAPS, the people filming you tonight, and a whole group of filmmakers have come to use CAPS as their tiny little community arts center where they can learn filmmaking and produce their own films. There's just so much opportunity for the school, and yes, the parking will probably always be an issue, but I'm sure there's some great architect out there who designs streets that might be able to make a bump out in one of the green areas to give a little more getting around space. And so I just hope that, although I agree the affordable housing, and there's the building you could actually rent to artists or, classes. Oakview Elementary School is a perfect example. I take a class up there. I take a ceramics class every Monday, and it's a drop-in class, and they're thriving as a school, as a former school. That's all. Thank you.
Bakley, and I live across the street from the Ventura Avenue School. Our neighborhood is Solano Heights, and it was built about 7 years ago. It includes low-income, over 55 housing, as well as condos and homes. We've watched the forlorn Avenue School across the streets for 7 years and wondered what could happen, and I heard about the school for the developmentally disabled and neurodivergent adults that was proposed to go in there, and was thrilled at the prospect of a school that would go in there, that would preserve the historic nature, but provide a needed asset to our community for a population that is underserved. And so I was very excited at the thought of that going in across the street from us. To hear tonight that it's proposed that it would be like mixed use 3, where 30 houses per acre could go in there, is really appalling to me. We don't have the capacity on Ventura Avenue for that type of additional housing. What we need is the type of proposal that Davina has proposed. And as a neighbor in that area, I'm very much in favor of it. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Iwana Schmidt, and I'm here as a community member. I'm a professor at Ventura College, and I also live on San Nicolas Street, backing right up to Washington School. This 5+ acre site is one of the last remaining open spaces in the Midtown neighborhood. Right now, there is no safe, easily accessible playground in this neighborhood, and I say that as the parent of a toddler. On San Nicolas Street itself, as several of my neighbors mentioned, in addition to the side streets, the road is so narrow it's difficult to even walk or drive safely, or ride a bicycle or a skateboard, much less allow kids to ride bikes or play outside. A park on this site would finally give our neighborhood the safe, accessible, and flat green space with a clean playground that we need. Putting housing here would overwhelm our narrow streets with traffic and strip away the privacy of the small historic bungalows that back up to the property. It would also go against the spirit of the Midtown Corridor Plan, which was created to protect neighborhood scale and character. Midtown is unique in Ventura for its lack of parks and play spaces besides Cemetery Park. Other surplus district sites can be used for housing, but this is our only chance to create a community gathering space in Midtown. And research is clear. Studies show that children, as several other speakers have mentioned, that grow up near green play spaces have better memory and attention, fewer behavioral and emotional problems, and lower risks of anxiety and obesity. Greening schoolyards and adding playgrounds directly increase physical activity and improve children's mental health. Some community groups have also expressed interest in honoring Washington School's history through arts or cultural programming, which would keep the spirit of this place alive as a place of learning and gathering. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Harmony Eckberg. I live on Arapa near the Avenue Elementary School site, but I'm reading this on behalf of someone else. But I also agree with them. As a community member, I support having a trade school on the Avenue site. Davina DeCant has been serving our community for years now and has provided jobs to an underserved population within our community. Did you hear that? I know her vision for this location will enhance our community through education and training in a wide variety of fields. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Anjanette Butler, and I'm a community member and also a supporter of the neurodivergent community. I'm here for supporting family and friends. I have friends that have children that are on the spectrum, and they go to the local Elmhurst Elementary School, and they have a great program there. That's one of the reasons they go there. But I am so for the trade school. It's really hard because I have a background in environmental biology, so I'm all for the parks and open space. So I figured there's a way we can compromise and create an open space for these kids to play. But also, I'm for the trade school. I personally found out in the last year that I am also on the spectrum, and I would be considered someone that nobody would think is if you just looked at me. And I'll be honest that school was hard for me growing up, and now I know why. And I think these kids need an opportunity to excel and whatever it is in their adulthood, because nobody should be left behind. Thank you.
Those with last name VWX, please come up.
Good evening. My name is Suki Sir, and I worked for Turning Point Foundation for a number of years, retiring 3 years ago. We developed a property just off the avenue for Veterans Transitional Housing Program. And I understand how important housing is. The lack of affordable housing and reliable transportation are significant barriers that negatively affect autistic and neurodivergent adults in our community and impacts their work performance. Industry Horror is all about empowering those adults, providing training, employment, support, and inclusion in a community dedicated to meaningful creative opportunities. With a special sauce combining creativity, community, and purpose, Industry Horror provides job training and employment that fosters independence and growth. Employment requires learning time management tools and following a structured routine which helps develop and maintain organizational and life skills. Industry Horror is dedicated to developing this property on Ventura Avenue to address the needs of our neighbors that are divergent and on the spectrum. Let's join them and build a brighter, more inclusive future. Thank you.
Hi there, my name is Tanner Shelton. I'm a very proud graduate of this very high school in 2012. And I feel very fortunate to have been able to move 3 blocks away from here once I graduated from college. I know far too many of my classmates and people in my generation who cannot afford this community because of the cost of housing. My grandparents are from here, my parents are from here. I've been so proud that Ventura is a multi-generational community. And unfortunately, we're staring down a demographic cliff here of folks who are unable to afford the community, and the generations are unable to come back. You're aware of that with the declining enrollment numbers with this district. So I'm strongly in support of affordable housing and workforce housing at the district surplus properties, and looking to develop and to partner with developers who are committed to collaborative, good planning that provides community benefits for the neighborhood. So I cannot emphasize enough the need for housing in this community for our current students in Ventura Unified and for the families who will be raising the next children in Ventura Unified School District. So thank you.
This is the last call for anyone who has not given public comment. Please come on up.
Hello, my name is Molly Thomas. I have been a paraprofessional in LA Unified for over 20 years and then in Wainimi School District for about a year when my daughter was a baby. And I've been working in Ventura Unified for about 10 years. And about 5 years ago, I heard whispers of Davina's dream school. And it's something that's been in my heart for a really long time because I believe that every child deserves a place in this world. And unfortunately, because of school budget cuts, we don't always get all of the sensory needs met with our kids. And we are creative beings, right? And we deserve to have huge playgrounds. I work at Poinsettia. We have an amazing yard. We have so many things going for our kids, but unfortunately, we have very crowded classrooms. And we always hear about budget cuts, budget cuts, budget cuts. I just ask that you guys please consider to make your decision and review Davina's plan. If you look at the school that she had designed, when I saw it, I just started tearing up because I feel that our community really needs this. I just ask that you go home and really, really consider where these kids go after high school, because my cousin, who's the same age as me, it didn't go well for him. And everyone deserves a chance in this area. I grew up in LA, I moved to Oxnard, and there are some wonderful, supportive families that would love to have this space, a community space. Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good evening, my name is Jack Santoro. For 50 years, I've lived across the street from Washington School, and I've loved every minute of it. Closing it, in my opinion, was surely a great loss to the area. But then is then and now is now. And just like the recent final ruling with Main Street moves, people decided all the cars, the fumes, the traffic, the noise, et cetera, needed to be eliminated. Folks spoke about freedom of space, moreover community connection with plenty of fresh air to enjoy it in. That same spirit belongs in Midtown. Here we need a large green space rather than squeezing in more housing. These are 1920s streets. They're already oversaturated with traffic. On our block, McMillan, there are several churches, everyday overflow from Cabrillo School, a dance studio. We've managed up to this point. But does it really make any sense to put even more cars on the blocks that we can't handle? Could you picture any emergency vehicle trying to get through the space? You wouldn't stand a chance. But this isn't just about traffic, it's about vision. We have a rare chance to do something truly meaningful, and we should not squander it. We need a green space for young families in the area, for seniors settling down, and for kids needing a safe place to play. A park brings peace, connection, and health. It's for parties, a quiet reflection at the end of the day, connecting with others, and it preserves the soul of a neighborhood. We need this. Other towns have done it. We could do it too. More congestion, surely not the answer. Let's build a future in green, not gridlock, for generations to come. Let's plant possibilities and not pave over them. Please consider this carefully, and maximum respect to everybody that came here tonight to voice their opinion.
Good evening, trustees and staff. My name is Marco Cuevas, and I'm a lifelong resident of Ventura's West Side. Thank you for taking the time to hear what the community envisions for these sites. While I acknowledge that some of the surplus properties could be used for housing, there are better areas of focus for the Avenue School site. While the focus of the school district is on K through 12 education, the options for schooling, aside from a traditional four-year college, need to be increased. A local neighborhood organization, the West Side Community Council, has a West Side vision, and within that, it is requested to have, quote, a training facility / vocational school on the West Side. Affordable housing is only one tool to ease the burden of affordability. Having higher paying jobs is a winning strategy for our residents to be able to afford rent here. Neurodiverse individuals have a higher unemployment rate than the overall population, so let's give them more opportunities to succeed. Learning and achievement should not stop at high school for these individuals. This is a prime opportunity to meet the needs of the community. Having a trade school at the Avenue School site not only gives a more equal opportunity for neurodiverse individuals, it creates a more educated workforce and will create a better economy for our local community. Also, I see that the team submitting the proposal for the trade school will not be commenting tonight due to the RFP's quiet period, but they are still here listening tonight. Thank you for your consideration.
President Peterson, that is all for public comment this evening. We would like to remind everyone that after Tuesday night, by Tuesday night, we will have a copy of this video along with a form to provide additional feedback for those that were not able to attend or those that did not speak tonight but wanted to provide additional feedback. Thank you.
Okay, we do have a follow-up question from board members.
Yeah, just real quick, I wanted to hold my question till after we hear public comment, but as I know, and I was on this committee, but the 7-Eleven committee met before pandemic and we met a little bit afterwards. I was part of the before pandemic discussions. My question is, has the 7-Eleven committee suggested anything other than surplus? Have they put forth any recommendations either before or after that time I spoke of? And this goes to staff, sorry.
Thank you, Trustee Forsythe, for the question. The last actions that the current 7-Eleven committee took were to support the waiver that was submitted to the State Board of Education for the current surplus properties. There has been no additional requests of that 7-Eleven committee other than that.
Also, there was a, when I was on the committee, we discussed about the Avenue School. And specifically, one of the recommendations we had was to have educational purposes, or at least, can you speak to that a little bit?
If you're talking about previous iterations of the 7-Eleven committee, yes, there were numerous discussions about what could be done for those properties. But again, I'll pass it to DCG. To discuss the RFP process, the manifestation of those ideas and concepts, several of which have been shared tonight via public comments, the manifestation of that would be via the RFP process. So I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah, I can give you two current examples as we speak right now. So as Megan illuminated in the report, many schools are highest and best use just because of the proximity to residential development. That's typically a city planning function. So with that as a context, we have two districts, one in Southern California, one in Northern California, in which the highest and best use was residential. The community had prioritized park space and made sure that the park district was appropriately funded, and the park district acquired those at highest and best use values. Even though it was planned as a highest and best use strictly from a technical land use, the park district stepped forward and actually acquired those via the RFP process. And so the district's action to release the properties via a public solicitation, the district then is waiting to review whatever proposals come forward. Ideally, it's a proposal that is a great revenue source, but also a great community impact. But the district is subject to whatever it receives. So the district is a passive party in regards to what is proposed via the public solicitation, but there are many cases in which it's an alternative use where the district does receive revenue, but it's also a great social impact use. So we've seen educational uses, we've seen park uses, we've seen other public-private partnership uses, we've seen workforce housing uses, and then we've also seen where the district has been limited as well because the respondents only wanted to do one particular user. So it depends on what you receive, and then that's when the board is able to deliberate on what it believes is in its best interest. And the board is also under no obligation to accept any proposal.
Well, I guess what I was referring to is, and I'll tell my fellow board members that 2019, the 7-Eleven committee met to discuss, the Avenue School. And after they surplused the property, there was a recommendation by the committee to have the Avenue School be used for educational purposes. That's what I was trying to get at.
Dr. Castro, I wanted to, two things. One, I guess, we had some questions that were posed by the public, and I didn't know if there was interest in addressing any of those things tonight. But, one of the things that, and Landis, you just kind of mentioned this, there are examples of public-private partnerships that can result in community kind of visionary projects. And someone mentioned earlier this evening the school up in Oakview. Its name has just completely left my head today. It's a community center. And I know from talking with Velma Lomax, who was one of our former board members and who lived in Oakview for many years, the community came together to support creating a community center there by levying a parcel tax on their properties in order to pay for creating that community center. So there are those kinds of things that exist within our community as examples for people who are interested in looking at, if I wanted to create something like that for this community, what does it look like? But that was not a school district initiative. And that's what I think sometimes gets lost when we're having these conversations, is that those things can absolutely happen. They don't happen by the school district initiating them. And so, and I know that might sound like kind of passing the buck, and that's not the intention, but if those things are what the community is truly interested in, I would encourage folks to look at some examples that exist already in our community's history at how you go about doing that. And just side personal oversharing, I had eye surgery last week, which is why I'm wearing sunglasses. It feels weird, but the sunlight and the lights are hard on my eyes, so I apologize for wearing sunglasses.
Do we have any other questions from the board? Okay. Next, we'll be going into closed session where we'll be speaking with legal counsel on 2 cases and public employee discipline, dismissal, and release. I'll entertain a motion.
Before we do the motion, we need to see if we have any public comment on closed session items only. Going once, going twice. I don't see anyone moving, so I don't believe we have public comment on closed session items. Thank you.
I'll move that we go to closed session.
I'll second. Thank you. Vote as follows. Trustee Dannenberg. Trustee Fredericks.
Yes.
Trustee Rodriguez.
Yes.
Trustee Forsythe. And Trustee Peterson.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.